Tonight, our journey takes us from the cold, rugged north of Westeros to the sun-scorched lands of Essos, within a realm of ice and fire. We follow a man of honor and regret, a knight in exile, whose loyalty became his life's guiding star, even in the face of unrequited love. We speak of Ser Jorah Mormont, the Bear of the North, and steadfast companion to Daenerys Targaryen. Before you make yourself comfortable, please take a moment to click the subscribe button. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell us where you're listening from and what challenges you might be facing. Now, let us begin. Ser Jorah Mormont was born to the ancient and honorable House Mormont of Bear Island, a rugged, sparsely populated jewel set in the cold, gray expanse of the shivering sea, off the northwestern coast of Westeros. Imagine this island, if you will, its shores battered by relentless, icy waves that crash against dark, formidable cliffs. The scent of pine, sharp and clean, mingles with the pervasive tang of salt carried on winds that sweep across the land, winds that whisper tales of ancient mariners and forgotten beasts. The forests are dense and shadowed, populated by towering firs and hardy sentinel pines that have withstood centuries of harsh weather. The Mormonts, lords of this stark domain, were not a wealthy house, their coffers modest compared to the grand families of the South, but their pride was as unyielding as the island's granite heart. Their sigil, a great black bear, rampant and fierce, symbolized their strength and resilience, and their words, "Here we stand," were a testament to their enduring spirit and their deep connection to their ancestral home. Jorah, eldest son of Jorah Mormont, the stern and respected Lord of Bear Island, grew to manhood shaped by this unforgiving yet beautiful landscape. His youth would have been one of practical learning, of understanding the rhythms of the island, the ways of its hardy, plain-spoken people. He learned to hunt in the deep woods, to fish in the cold northern waters, and to fight, for survival was a constant companion in the north. Under his father's tutelage, he would have been schooled in the ways of a Northman to endure hardship without complaint, to value loyalty and honor above all else, and to respect the ancient traditions, the old gods of the forest, as well as the newer faith of the Seven. The castle of House Mormont, likely a sturdy, unpretentious keep of gray stone, would have echoed with the clang of steel on steel as he trained in the yard, the weight of a sword becoming as familiar to his hand as the feel of a fishing net or a hunting bow. Picture the long, dark winters, the world outside blanketed in deep snow, the only sounds the howling of the wind and the crackle of the hearth fire, times for quiet reflection and the telling of old tales. These formative years forged in him a deep resilience, a quiet strength that would serve him well in the tumultuous life that lay ahead. He married young, as was the custom for heirs of noble houses. His bride was a lady of House Glover, a neighboring northern family. Theirs was likely a match of duty and alliance rather than one of sweeping passion, a practical union designed to strengthen ties and ensure the continuation of their lines. For 10 years, they lived a life that, from the outside, might have seemed settled, even content. But perhaps, within Jorah, a restless spirit yearned for something more, a spark of grand adventure or profound romance that the gray, predictable realities of Bear Island and a dutiful marriage could not quite ignite. His wife, sadly, passed away after several heartbreaking miscarriages, leaving Jorah a widower, his heart undoubtedly more weathered, perhaps a little more solitary than before. The quiet halls of his home would have felt emptier then, the future less certain. The great turning point in Jorah's early life, The event that first thrust him onto a larger stage came with Robert's rebellion. He answered the call to arms, riding south with the northern forces under Lord Eddard Stark to fight against the Targaryen dynasty. He distinguished himself with valor on the battlefield, proving his courage and his skill as a warrior. Later, during Balon Greyjoy's rebellion against the Iron Throne, Jorah's bravery shone even brighter. He was among the first warriors through the breach at the Siege of Pike, the Greyjoy's island stronghold, fighting amidst the chaos and the carnage with fierce determination. For his conspicuous bravery in this decisive battle, King Robert Baratheon himself, in the flush of victory, knighted him Ser Jorah Mormont. The title resonated with honor, a name that now carried weight and respect throughout the Seven Kingdoms. He had proven his worth, not just as a Northman, but as a knight of the realm. It was at a grand tourney held in Lannisport to celebrate the victory over the Greyjoy rebels that Jorah's fate took a dramatic, intoxicating, and ultimately ruinous turn. He was an accomplished jouster, his northern strength and steady nerve serving him well in the lists. On that particular day, under the bright southern sun, amidst the cheers of the crowd and the fluttering banners of noble houses, he was magnificent. He unseated lord after lord, his lance striking true, his skill undeniable. He even triumphed over the famed Sir Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer. As the undisputed champion of the tourney, he had the signal honor of crowning a queen of love and beauty. His gaze fell upon Lyness Hightower, a woman of exquisite, almost ethereal beauty, her golden hair like spun sunlight, her eyes the color of a summer sky. She was the daughter of Lord Leighton Hightower of Oldtown, one of the oldest, wealthiest, and most powerful families in the Reach. Jorah, the rugged northern knight, was utterly and instantly smitten, captivated by her grace and radiance. He crowned her, and in that single, fateful moment, his world shifted on its axis. Blinded by infatuation, he boldly asked her father for her hand in marriage. Perhaps surprisingly, given the vast difference in their stations and wealth, Lord Hightower consented. Jorah, the Bear of the North, was besotted, his heart captured. Lyness, accustomed to the riches, the culture, and the endless splendors of Oldtown and Highgarden, was perhaps charmed by the champion's fierce devotion, by the romantic ideal of a valiant knight. They married, and he took his beautiful southern bride back to the stark, unadorned realities of Bear Island. This is where the quiet, insidious tragedy began to unfold like a creeping frost. Bear Island, for all its rugged beauty, was not Oldtown. There were no grand balls under starlit skies, no perfumed gardens, no troops of singers and mummers to entertain. The castle was drafty, the comforts few, the society small and unrefined compared to what Lyness had known. Accustomed to a life of luxury, of silks and jewels, of constant admiration and sophisticated pleasures, she found the isolation, the austerity, and the long, harsh winters of the north unbearable. Jorah, desperate to please her, to keep that radiant, enchanting smile upon her face, to prove that he could provide for her as lavishly as any southern lord, began to spend with a reckless abandon. He imported fine wines from the arbor, silks from Myr, jewels from Lys, hired singers and musicians from the free cities, attempting to recreate a pale imitation of the southern comfort she craved. He bankrupted himself, his family's modest fortune dwindling rapidly as he tried to buy her happiness. The debts mounted, becoming a crushing weight. The honor that had once defined him, the pride of his house, began to fray under the strain of his financial desperation. In a moment of profound misjudgment, driven by his desire to appease Lyness and escape his creditors, Jorah made a fateful, unforgivable decision. He captured poachers he had found on his lands, men who were themselves likely desperate, and, instead of delivering them to justice, he sold them to a Taroshi slaver. Slavery was an abhorrent practice, strictly forbidden in the Seven Kingdoms, a crime that brought utter disgrace upon any who engaged in it. Word of this transgression inevitably reached Eddard Stark, the Warden of the North, a man of unflinching, uncompromising honor. Lord Stark, bound by his duty and his own strict moral code, had no choice but to act. He journeyed to Bear Island to bring Ser Jorah to justice, the penalty for which could be death or a lifetime of service on the wall. But Jorah, warned of Lord Stark's approach, chose exile over facing such a grim fate. He and Lyness fled across the narrow sea to the free city of Lys, his honor in tatters, his name a mark of shame, his ancestral home lost to him forever. His father, Jorah Mormont, a man of deep integrity, was so shamed by his son's dishonorable actions that he abdicated his lordship of Bear Island and took the Black, joining the Night's Watch, eventually rising to become its Lord Commander, a life of cold duty his only solace. In the vibrant, decadent free city of Lys, Jorah's troubles only deepened. Lyness, surrounded by even greater opulence than she had known in Westeros, was no happier. Her desires remained insatiable. Jorah, to support them, became a sellsword, his once honorable martial skills now his only currency in a foreign land. He fought in the disputed lands, in minor skirmishes between the free cities, his sword arm for hire to the highest bidder. But the money he earned, often at great risk to his own life, was never enough for Lyness, who still yearned for the life of effortless luxury she felt she deserved. Eventually, while Jorah was away fighting the Braavosi on the Rhoyne, Lyness Hightower abandoned him. She became the chief concubine of Trigger Ormalin, a wealthy Lysene merchant prince, finally finding the security and opulence that Jorah could no longer provide. Jorah returned to find himself utterly alone, heartbroken, and adrift in a world that cared little for his sorrows. He had lost his home, his honor, his titles, his family, and now the woman for whom he had sacrificed everything. He wandered Essos, a bitter, solitary figure, his past a constant, gnawing shadow. The sun of Essos was hot and unforgiving, a stark contrast to the cool grays of his homeland, and it seemed to bake his grief and regret into his very soul. Imagine him in the dusty, crowded taverns of Volantis or Myr, the air thick with the scent of strange spices and cheap wine, or in the rough, transient mercenary camps, the camaraderie of soldiers a hollow, fleeting echo of the brotherhood he once knew. His northern resilience, the iron in his blood, kept him alive, but his spirit was undoubtedly scarred, his heart encased in a layer of cynicism. It was in Pentos, years later, after countless battles fought for causes not his own, that his path crossed with two young, exiled Targaryens, the arrogant, entitled Viserys, and his timid younger sister, Daenerys. They were the last remnants of a fallen dynasty, living on the charity of Magister Illyrio Mopatis. Perhaps Jorah initially saw in them merely another opportunity for employment, a way to earn coin. Or perhaps in the young Daenerys, so vulnerable yet possessing a lineage that once commanded dragons, he saw a flicker of a cause worthy of his lost honor, a faint, distant echo of the noble ideals he had once cherished. He pledged his sword to Viserys, the self-proclaimed king, but his gaze, his counsel, his quiet protection, increasingly turned towards the young Daenerys. He watched her transformation, a silent, observant guardian. He saw her sold by her brother as a bride to Khal Drogo, the powerful warlord of a Dothraki Khalisar, in exchange for the promise of an army. He witnessed her fear, her resilience, and her gradual blossoming into a Khaleesi, a queen in her own right, respected and even loved by the fierce horse lords. And then he saw her walk into the funeral pyre of her husband and emerge unburnt, flanked by 3 newly hatched dragons, the first seen in the world for over a century. It was a moment of awe, of magic reborn, and in that moment, Jorah's devotion to her became absolute, a quiet, unwavering presence by her side. He saw her strength, her compassion, her burgeoning fire. And he, the grizzled, exiled knight, fell deeply, hopelessly, irrevocably in love with her. This love was a silent, constant burden, a source of both profound strength and deep, unspoken sorrow. He knew, with a certainty that ached in his soul, that she could never truly reciprocate his feelings in the way he wished. He was her loyal knight, her trusted counselor, her steadfast bearer, but never her lover. He carried this unrequited love with a stoic, northern dignity, his weathered face often a mask of grim determination, but his eyes, when they rested on her, held a universe of unspoken emotion, of fierce protectiveness, of tender admiration. He guided her through the desolate red waste after the death of Khal Drogo, his knowledge of survival keeping her and her small band of followers alive. He helped her navigate the treacherous, gilded politics of Qarth, a city of merchants and warlocks. He stood by her as she began to build her army of Unsullied, the famed eunuch soldiers of Astaper, and as she embarked on her crusade to free the slaves of Slaver's Bay. His knowledge of Essos, its cultures, its dangers, and his own military experience were invaluable to her burgeoning campaign. Yet, his past, the shadow of his disgrace, still haunted him. Unbeknownst to Daenerys for a time, he had been secretly sending reports on her activities to Varys, the master of whisperers in King's Landing, hoping for a royal pardon that would allow him to finally return home to Westeros to reclaim some semblance of his lost life. When Daenerys eventually discovered this betrayal, her own sense of betrayal was immense, her trust shattered. She exiled him once more, casting him out from her presence. This was perhaps Jorah's lowest point, a pain even deeper than the loss of Lyness. To be rejected by the woman to whom he had dedicated his life, the one cause that had given him a renewed sense of purpose, was a devastating blow. Yet, even in this despair, his devotion did not waver. He endured further hardships, captured, enslaved alongside Tyrion Lannister, and forced to fight in the brutal fighting pits of Meereen. All his efforts, all his struggles, were bent on one singular goal: to find his way back to Daenerys, to prove his unwavering loyalty, to serve her once more, even if only from afar. During this time, he contracted the deadly disease grayscale, a slow, creeping petrification of the flesh, a virtual death sentence. Still, he persevered, his will as strong as his love. He eventually found his way back into her presence, playing a crucial role in her escape from the sons of the Harpy in Meereen. He confessed his love, openly and without reservation, and she, while unable to return it in the way he desired, tasked him with a seemingly impossible quest: to find a cure for his grayscale, a sign that she still valued him, that there was still a thread of hope. His journey to find a cure was another solitary, arduous trial, a testament to his incredible endurance, and his unwavering desire to serve his queen. He traveled to the Citadel in Old Town, the very heart of knowledge in Westeros, the city where his disastrous love for Lyness had begun. And there, against all odds, thanks to the forbidden and painful efforts of Samwell Tarly, he was cured. His scarred skin remained, a testament to his ordeal, but the disease was gone. He returned to Daenerys' side, his loyalty proven beyond any shadow of a doubt, his place by her side reclaimed. He fought for her in the great wars to come, as she finally crossed the narrow sea to claim her birthright. He was always the stoic protector, the wise and cautious advisor, his love for her a quiet, constant flame, burning steadily until his last breath. He saw her rise to unimaginable power, and he saw the terrible challenges and compromises that such power brought. He was there, a steadfast shield, until the very end of her campaigns in Westeros, his life a long, often painful, testament to enduring loyalty, even in the face of immense personal suffering and unfulfilled desires. Ser Jorah Mormont's story is one of a man who sought honor, lost it through a moment of weakness born of love, and then spent a lifetime trying to reclaim not his old life, but a new sense of worthiness in service to a queen he loved with every fiber of his being. His was a path of hardship, of quiet suffering, of exile and regret, but ultimately of unwavering devotion. A northern bear, far from his icy home, finding his purpose, his redemption, and his end in the heart of a dragon's consuming fire. As the tale of Ser Jorah, the exiled knight, the steadfast companion, gently fades into the quiet of the night, may your own thoughts begin to soften and drift. May the echoes of his steadfast, enduring heart accompany you into a night of profound peace and deep, restorative rest. Sleep well,